Hello, everyone, and welcome to Losses Above Replacement, the best baseball podcast to grace your ears. I am today's host, Alex Clark, joined by our very own playoff contenders in Mathias Ullman Kurosaki and Ryan Splashpots. My main men, how are we doing today?
You're looking a little stiff there, Alex.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
know.
need
I
to
need to
go to the chiropractor?
I
Dang
feel
it,
like
you stole my line.
It'd be like that sometimes. It'd be like that sometimes.
My
But
grandfather
yeah, how
was
about
a
you?
chiropractor, fun fact.
I'm actually going to the chiropractor tomorrow, so that's a good sign. But maybe he can help with me being a little bit stiff here. So, Mac, what about you? What you up to?
Not much. My sister was in town for the week, so I spent Labor Day weekend with them. It was fun. Other than that, the Mets won 6 in a row. I don't know. There isn't much else to talk about. The swims. I coached the first practice of the fall season today. So, swimming. Our pool reopened yesterday, so it closes for the 2 weeks at the end of August. So that's good. I have to get back in shape. Other than that, yeah, I'm doing fine.
Good deal.
Excited for September baseball.
I think everyone in some way, shape, or form, 2/3 of our podcast is excited for September baseball, and I'll tell you, it's not the one that's hosting this broadcast right now. No, Seattle has been causing me a lot of depression over the last little bit, including losing 2 walk-off games to the A's. So, doing fantastic, I think. Anyway, with all that being said here, we're going to talk a little bit about playoffs now as we are getting closer and closer to when the actual season will itself actually end. But right now we want to talk about the playoff contenders and talk a little bit more about how they do win the World Series or how they don't win the World Series. So we're going to do the American League on this broadcast, and then we're going to do National League on this one, my apologies. And then we'll be doing American League on next week's podcast. So let's start in the National League here. We're going to be going with all the teams that currently hold a playoff spot and one more just because of how close they are. Let's start in the NL West here with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Then, so Mac, let's start with you here. And fill in the blank here. The Los Angeles Dodgers will win the World Series if blank.
If their lineup keeps producing. Their lineup has been fantastic ever since Mookie Betts came back. And now they finally have that 1-2-3 that everyone talked about for the first half of the year. But Betts was hurt. So now they have Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman at the top of their lineup. And it feels like they're unstoppable. They had a game recently where Freeman hit 2 homers, Ohtani stole 3 bases, Betts drove in 3, Teoscar Hernandez got 5 hits. They're able to do ridiculous things like that. So that's why I think they can win the World Series.
Okay. Splash, same question to you.
All right. The Los Angeles Dodgers will win the World Series if the pitching rotation gets healthy. This has been a team that feels like it's setting records for players on the injured list. Whatever day you choose, if you look at their injured list, it's probably a rotation full of all-stars. You've had Kershaw on the shelf. You've had Glasnow on the shelf. You've had Yamamoto on the shelf. You've had Bobby Miller on the shelf. Walker Buehler on the shelf. And with Buehler and Miller in particular, they've had their ups and downs. A healthy Dodgers rotation, even if you get 4 of those guys, you throw a Gavin Stone in as well, I think they can manage innings. But if it's not healthy, we'll have the flip side of this conversation. Remember, this is a team that started Lance Lynn in a do-or-die playoff game last season. Lance Lynn, in the year of our Lord, 2023, was not a great option there, but it was their only option. This year, if you get Glasnow back, you get Yamamoto back, maybe you have Kershaw as the starter in a piggyback role, so maybe Kershaw goes the first time through the order, and like Gavin Stone comes in, or Buehler, or Bobby Miller. You have the arms there. You have the pieces in theory. I could see, okay, yeah, they can win the World Series, but it's about getting healthy. And it's about being competent because the Dodgers have not exactly been competent in October the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, that's been their biggest issue, and that kind of goes into what my blank is. The Dodgers will win the World Series if they do not relive the past. They have been horrid come October, whether it be the pitching falling apart, the hitting just not coming through. I mean, I think wasn't it last playoff series? Mookie Betts had like one hit. Like the entire
he and Freeman combined to go one for 21 between the two.
Yeah, exactly. So at that point, like I'm with both of you guys here, but legitimately, so it's what seems to be the biggest issue for the Dodgers. They have been transcendentally great during the actual season itself, but the moment that the clock turns October, they just forget a lot of it. So whether or not it be the pitching that doesn't come through, like, again, it's been injured all season, or the offense forgetting who the heck they are, that's really the key issue here. And that's how they're going to win, is if they forget what they have been in the past and can actually go and win this time around.
I do want to throw in Jack Flaherty as well. I forgot Flaherty exists.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's in there too.
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving on to the next team in the National League here, the Milwaukee Brewers here currently have the lead here in the NL Central by 10 full games here over the Cubs here. Splash, we'll start with you this time here. The Brewers will win the World Series if...
The Brewers will win the World Series if they get a 2015 Royals performance. That is the needle they are trying to thread here. They are not a traditionally dominant team or a traditionally great team, I would say. They win a lot of games. I think these are distinct things, and they have this sort of intangible factor that Royals team did in 14 and 15 of great bullpen, enough starting pitching to get to the bullpen, and in a playoff environment, you can manage that. You can manage that out. You don't have to use your low leverage arms because it's like you only got 5 games, right, in the NLDS. You only got 7 games in the NLCS and World Series, and you only have potentially 3 games in the Wild Card Series. So you can manage aggressively and use your Devin Williams. You can use your McGills. You can use your whoever out of your starting rotation doesn't actually get a start. You can use that player as like a bridge gap kind of piece. And then you have enough hitting potentially. This is the Earl Weaver thing of you get a Willie Adames 3-run homer, you have a good shot of winning that game. And maybe you scratch across another run, like a 2-rang single, steal second, hit and run, scores him. You score 4 runs. The Brewers are going to be tough to beat if they can score 4 runs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on this with how strong the National League is at this point. The Brewers kind of feel like, even as the division winners, like not as credible of a threat. So here's my bit for this, is that the Brewers will win the World Series if they take advantage of the opportunities given. Kind of what you're saying here when it comes to the Royals and all that. One of the things they were so good at doing was taking advantage of the opportunities that they had with having runners on base or being able to shut down in clutch opportunities. The Brewers are going to be in that exact same format. And we've seen teams like the Nationals in 2019 that took advantage of mistakes and then ran with it. All you need in a playoff game is an advantage to be able to win it. You don't need to have all this depth. You just need to take one advantage to get a win. Go back to the 2020 World Series here. Yes, the Dodgers won it, but the Rays kept fighting back, taking advantage of mistakes, and they turned that into one of the most competitive series a truly competitive series, which a lot of people may not have given the Rays credit for here. So that's going to be my bit with this, is that the Brewers can win if they capitalize on mistakes.
Yeah, so I'm going to say that the Brewers will win if they find any form of consistency on offense. Obviously, Jackson Chourio has surged. Willie Adames is leading the NL in RBIs with 100. William Contreras has been good, but without Christian Yelich, I know that they've been playing great ever since Yelich got hurt, but you look up and down that lineup, and I have a hard time buying in here. Bryce Turang is fast. He's stolen 40 bases, but he has a 674 OPS. Rhys Hoskins for, he hits for power, sure, but he's hitting 209 with the 708 OPS. That's for Rhys Hoskins. You're expecting a guy to be 20 to 30% better than league average, and he's below average by OPS plus this year. Blake Perkins is not known for his offense necessarily. He's a solid defender, yes, but he's a 694. Sal Frelick, I've been a little disappointed there. I expected more out of Frelick this year. His OPS is only 676. I think Sanchez is, as a DH, he's not hitting enough for. He's not hitting enough to be for a guy who's supposed to be like an everyday DH. So they just need someone else to step up. Garrett Mitchell has been all right. I know he was hurt for a while, but that's my big concern with them. They have a great pitching staff. I've been pleasantly surprised by their rotation. I don't know if I trust them necessarily over a whole series, but their bullpen is phenomenal. That was going to be their biggest strength all year, and especially ever since they've gotten Devin Williams back, I'm really high on their bullpen. But yeah, they need someone to back up those middle of the order bats.
100% here, and that's kind of what makes it all interesting here overall. Because again, the pitching staff has done a pretty dang good job this season now. So now let's move on here to your guys' division, the NL East, currently led by the Phillies. Here, the Phillies with an 82-56 record here. Take a look at both the Mets and Braves. Not even an 80 wins yet. Anyway, this is not a shot at either of you guys. This is just having a little bit of fun. I apologize. But I'll go first on this one, being the non-NL East person here. The Phillies will win the World Series if the bullpen can continue playing at least at a manageable level. We have seen that their starters have been absolutely fantastic this year. Their offense here, you have some of the best hitters in the game right now. It really comes down to being able to manage the late innings. And if they can do that, I don't think they're going to have too much competition, honestly. Because you take a look at what they've done, especially in previous playoff runs here, they know how to come through when it matters most. And they've done that time and time and time again. So legitimately for them, it's just about making sure you don't lose it in 7, 8, 9. If you can lead it for 1 through 6, just don't lose it in the back 3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going similar with the Brewers, I think, because I actually am pretty high on the Phillies bullpen. I think stuff-wise, it's one of the best, especially after getting Carlos Estevez. I mean, Kirkring was already good. He's great stuff. Jeff Hoffman, I mean, once he got to Philadelphia, learned how to pitch again as a reliever, no less. I remember being high on him as a starter. Matt Strahm had a rough month of July, but he was good again in August. Much like the Brewers, though, I'm talking about their offense. They will win the World Series if they are consistent. I believe in their pitching staff a lot. Their offense it's lacked some type of thump in the second half, I feel like. Obviously, Kyle Schwarber, when he's hot, can hit the daylights out of the ball. I mean, you saw it last night. He hit 3 homers, basically won them the game, and he hit a leadoff homer today, giving me 13 leadoff homers this year, by the way. That is tied with Alfonso Soriano for the most leadoff homers in a season. But their offense each month, it feels like it's left a little bit to be desired in the second half. Maybe it's just me being harsh on them, but I need to see Harper continue to be Harper. Are we going to get postseason Harper? Because last year he was great until those last couple games. What are we going to get from Trey Turner? Is Alec Boehm going to keep hitting? Alec Boehm has fallen off a little bit. Bryson Stott's been like their weakest link. It feels like. What are we going to see from Nick Castellanos?
I was about to say one natural disaster will happen, so that now Castellanos can hit bomb after bomb.
Yeah, because Castellanos, he's a free swinger also. So if you just throw him pitches out of the zone, he'll probably swing and miss. But he has power and everything, so it's a potent lineup. But what are we going to see in the postseason? That's just my biggest question with them.
So the Philadelphia Phillies will win the World Series if they keep the initiative at home. The Phillies, the last couple of years, you steamroll at home. You beat the Braves Game 3 and Game 4. You annihilate the Padres in 2022. You annihilate the Marlins in 2023. But as soon as they show a little weakness, they drop a game at home to Houston in the World Series. They drop a game at home to Arizona, game 6. They blow that game late, and the house comes crumbling down. I think the Phillies thrive on being in the underdog role, and they aren't going to be the underdog this year. That's the point. They will not be the underdog. They can tell themselves we're the underdog, and everyone's rooting against them, which is true, but they're not the underdog. They should be the favorite, either them or the Dodgers or the Yankees. I guess you can throw the Yankees in it, but they need to keep the initiative at home. And as well as they've played as the underdog, they have to be able to play as the favorite. They have to be able to play as the team might be the number 1 seed, could be hosting any theoretical game 5 or game 7. They have to win those games. They can't. If they lose, you got to answer back. And I don't know if the Phillies can, but just win at home and it doesn't matter. You don't have to win any game away from home if you just take care of business at home.
Yeah, I mean, much easier said than done, but yeah, no, you're 100% right here. One of the things this is not like a fight back. This is just my own personal opinion. I don't like the idea of playing as the favorite or playing as the underdog, just because I think that in every one of the games, just win. Literally, just like go the old Raider approach of just win, baby. And is it easier said than done? Absolutely, I get that. But I also just know that play the matchups, figure out what you do best, and exploit the absolute hell out of it.
I will say the Rangers went 11-0 on the road in the playoffs last year, which will never be duplicated.
Yeah, never. Yeah.
2, I think there's an element to like to use a video game term, like rubber banding.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the losing team or the team that feels inferior, I think there is some like positive value potentially there of like how you perceive, you step up, if you will. So I don't know. That's anecdotal more than empirical, but
I mean, no, that's fair. No, I
think you can look at previous teams like the 2019 Nationals, 2021 Braves, Rangers last year.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And the world-renowned underdog Astro. I'm kidding.
I'm gonna fight you. No kidding. No. Regardless,
but no, like to your point, Splash. The Braves are 47 and sorry, not the Braves. The Phillies are 47-25 at home, and only 35-31 on the road. And also, as fine as their record is, they were 62-34 at the break, and they're only 20-22 in the second half. And really, they were unstoppable in April and May. I mean, through the end of May, they went 19-9 in April and 20-7 in May. Since then, they're only a few games over 500, which is fine. They've played winning baseball, but they aren't. I will say that they're not nearly as good as they were in those first couple months, but they're not as bad necessarily as they were in July when they were under 500.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love so much about watching playoff baseball is you're going to see teams really step up and some teams potentially just kind of fall off here, and it really just comes down to, again, which teams get hot at the right time and which teams get cold at the wrong time. So let's move on then to our wild card teams. Now, we're going to include 4. I know those are your wild card spots, but there are really 4 that we need to talk about because by the time this podcast gets released, very possible that they may have changed. Here, so let's start out with the top of this, though, and that is the San Diego Padres, currently holding the first wild card spot at the time of this recording. So let's start with Splash here. The San Diego Padres win the World Series if
the San Diego Padres win the World Series if their stars play like stars. The pros to building a stars and scrubs approach here, and for this conversation, I will include Luis Ariz among these stars. When you have the Machados and the Fernando Tatises and the Arizes and the Bogarts, they got to perform. You know, Bogarts has won a World Series before, famously so. Machado has played in a World Series before, famously so, striking out to end the series. You got to play up to that level, and you have to elevate your play. and seize the moment, if you will. So I was listening to the Yankees Files podcast. Shout out to them. And you go through the research, and if you ask someone, would you rather have a Yankees style lineup that gets to a 119 WRC plus and has a lot of that production in Judge and Soto, or would you rather have a team with 9 guys at a 119 WRC plus? A lot of people are going to choose the consistent lineup, when mathematically the stars and scrubs approach tends to win out, because you get that higher end production and you're less prone to sequencing, if you will. So that 119 is great, but that means you have to hit lower odds over and over and over again to score runs, while if you have Judge or Soto, any pitch could score. So you have Tatis, you have Machado, you have a Rise, different profile there. You have Jerkson Profar. He's been awesome this year. You have Jackson Merrill. He's been awesome this year. You have Dylan Cease in the rotation. You're getting Yu Darvish back. You have an electric bullpen. Play like it.
Yeah. I'll go next on this one then. For me, it's kind of along that exact same line that you had here. It's that the San Diego Padres will win the World Series if they imitate glue. That's called come together and stick together. Here, you have some amazing talents on this team. Not to mention Jackson Merrill, who has been this breakout star for it, and then a re-breakout, I guess, here for Jerks and Profar. So that's fun. Not to mention as well, like you said here, guys like Arias, guys like Tatis, guys like Machado, guys like Cease. You have all of these guys that are playing solid baseball. Continue to stick at it. Here, just be glue here and continue to stick to each other. You do that and you keep consistent, you're going to win. The only reason why you're a wild card team right now is because the Dodgers are in your division. We've been saying that for checks notes the last 6+ years at this point here. But you know what's been also consistent during that time? Most of the time, the Padres also make the playoffs. So that shows how good they have been, and why at this point right now, this is a great time for them to strike, because they are having not just their main stars, they're having new stars break out as well. That's why I think that this playoff section for them is going to come down to Profar and Merrill for them. They know that they're going to get pretty decent production out of the other ones. Now let the new guys get their show. I say Profar like he's a new guy, but you know what I mean by that. It's by these really re-emerged as what people thought he was going to be like. All right, so now a question to you here, Mac. The San Diego Padres will win the World Series if
they figure out who their third starter is. I'll just say it there. They're stars. I really believe in them. Their bullpen, I think, is the best in baseball, especially after getting Tanner Scott and Jason Adam and Brian Hoeing. Robert Suarez is fantastic as their closer. I think Dylan Cease and Michael King are a good 1 and 2. What's going to happen with Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove? Are we going to see what we expect from them, or are we going to see what they are, which is they've been beat up a lot? I know that Darvish had to tend to some personal matters, so he was out for he's been out for, I believe, 3 months or so at this point, 2 or 3 months. Their offense, big fan of Jerks and Profar. I think he's good. Jackson Merrill is really good. Fernando Tatis Jr. is back. He's really good. Manny Machado has had an 884 OPS since June 1st. That's what you expect Manny Machado to do. But they need to find someone to pitch that third game of the series. If you go far enough, your fourth game of the series too. Because they have a ton of talent on their roster. And I will gladly say I've been very, very wrong about this team this year.
Same here. Yeah, 100%. All right, let's move on to our next team here. And that is the defending National League champion here, the Diamondbacks here. So I'll start this one, I think, here, because I'm going to have just the fun answer for this one. The Arizona Diamondbacks will win the World Series if they let Gino cook. No, Gino is like Eugenio Suarez, one of my favorite players. I don't care what anyone says on that. One of my favorite people. He has been on an absolute tear as of late here. And over the course of the season, especially since like July, he has really kicked it up to another degree. So let him play. Let him cook. He has been a dominant power hitter over this whole time, and I've seen him do amazing things in the playoffs. Let him do that this time around. I love you, Gino. Please come back to Seattle.
And
I'll go next here because I think Arizona's offense is really good. They have the highest scoring offense in baseball. I'll say the Diamondbacks will win the World Series if they figure out how to pitch. I mean, straight up, I do not trust this pitching staff for a second. I think the only player I trust in this pitching staff is Justin Martinez. Other than that, Sewald had to get removed from the closer's role. Ryan Thompson has been rocky lately. Kevin Ginkel was great in the postseason last year. Can we see that again? The whole entire starting rotation. What happened to Jordan Montgomery this year? Zach Gallen has not been Zach Gallen this year necessarily. Eduardo Rodriguez was hurt most of the year. So what are we going to see from Eduardo Rodriguez? Can Brandon Pfaadt repeat what he did last October? Is Ryan Nelson going to keep going? They're 13th in the National League in ERA. They are first in run scored. So you got to figure out the pitching situation because their bullpen hasn't been great. Their starting rotation has been even worse. So pretty simple there.
All right, boys. The Arizona Diamondbacks will win the World Series if they trade Jordan Montgomery to the Texas Rangers. Folks, Jordan Montgomery hasn't just been a disaster, hasn't just been like bad. He has been a total abomination to the sport of baseball, the sport that we all love. And largely, the Diamondbacks rotation has been horrendous. You come into the season, and I think all of us had Zach Gallen in like our top 10 starting pitchers, if not even higher. I don't happen to remember. I think he was like 6 in my list or 7, but he was a top 10 to 15 guy. He's really good. He was a horse in the playoffs. He's a big reason why the Diamondbacks made the World Series. And this year, he's been slightly above average, a 1.08 ERA plus. The rest of the rotation has inexplicably been worse. They can't pitch to save their lives. And this doesn't happen to just be a rotation problem. It extends to the bullpen. This is unlike the Dodgers, who they've just been injured. They can still pitch. They are still very good. Yamamoto and Glasnow are still very good. They're just injured. The Diamondbacks have dealt with injuries and gross incompetence. If they weren't leading the league in OPS and leading the league and with a 114 OPS plus as a team, Corbin Carroll has been unreal of late. Suarez has hit a bunch of home runs of late. Christian Walker, welcome back, sir. Ketel Marte, he's not quite back, but he had been playing at like MVP runner-up levels. Jock Peterson, tremendous platoon bat. The entire lineup rakes. And they take serious advantage of platooning and get Jock out of the lineup against lefties. But they cannot pitch. They cannot get outs. And it would be one thing if you flip it and you look at, I don't know, the Atlanta Braves that cannot score to save their lives, but aren't allowing runs. You need to get 27 outs. That is a requisite. You can score 1 run and win a game, but you have to get 27 outs to win a game. I think the Diamondbacks will struggle to do that. So if you get 27 outs, they will win.
Yeah, fair enough then. And so that's what's kind of interesting with all this is that you still have to get the core stuff done, obviously, but there's so much talent on that team that there's a very real chance that it either comes together spectacularly or fails spectacularly. So let's move on to the next team here, and that is one of the teams of us here in the podcast here. Let's talk about the Atlanta Braves. Splash, we'll start with you here, being our resident Braves fan. Here, the Atlanta Braves will win the World Series if...
Okay. The Atlanta Braves will win the World Series if Michael Harris gets 2 hits in a series. I'm going to put it to you this way. Michael Harris has played 2 playoff series in his career. He's played in 8 games. He has the same number of historic game-ending, never happened before, double plays as hits. He has played every game. He has been featured prominently in the lineup. Well, not exactly prominently in the lineup, but it's a good lineup, so you cycle through it more often than the average lineup. He has 1 hit in 2 playoff series. He has one crazy game-ending, the Attaboy Harper play, that one. Michael Harris is really the conduit of this team. Yes, you need the power from Olsen and Ozuna, and hopefully Riley is back if you advance deep enough into the playoffs, and the catchers. And Ramon Laureano is a good baseball player now. I don't know. Michael Harris is the Ronald Acuna light. It's if you combine Jorge Soler, Michael Harris, you might get Ronald Acuna from like a power, speed, and on base perspective. But the electricity for the Braves has been lacking in the playoffs in recent years. And I think a lot of that is because one of your most electric players in Michael Harris has been disastrous in the playoffs. He's great defensively. No qualms there. He can steal bases. No qualms there. He has to hit. He has to hit the playoffs. I trust the rotation. I trust the bullpen. It's unbelievable what they're doing. Chris Sale hasn't allowed more than 2 runs since June 2nd. Spencer Schwellenbach might be the best pitcher in baseball. And no caveat there. Michael Harris, you got to hit, man. You got to hit, bro. You just, please, for the love of all things holy, hit. Just a little bit. Just an eensy, tiny little bit. And extend the line. Just a smidge. And the Braves are going to win the World Series. Just a smidge. But he's like 1 for 30 in the playoffs. So I don't have high hopes for that.
All right, Mac, I know it's going to hurt you to say the phrase, but the Braves will win the World Series if
they find some type of 2021 magic. That's how I'm going to say it. Their pitching staff, fantastic this year. I'll say it. I didn't trust them coming into the year, but actually pretty good. Especially Chris Sale. I mean, that turnaround has been crazy. Spencer Schwellenbach has really settled in, I feel like. Max Fried is Max Fried. Obviously, their bullpen has actually been really good. Raisel Iglesias, didn't allow a run in the month of August. He's a 1.26 ERA. He strikes guys out and doesn't really walk guys. So he does everything you want. And obviously, Joe Jimenez is a good setup man. Dylan Lee's been really good this year. Their offense, man, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I have a number of concerns about their lineup. Matt Olson had a solid month of August. I'll say that much. So he's sort of a fraction of what he was in 2023 when he had 54 homers. He doesn't need to be that necessarily, but Michael Harris has not been Michael Harris this year. Jared Kelenic is a question mark. Obviously, Acuna's hurt. Albies is hurt. Riley is hurt. Sean Murphy, when he's healthy, has not been Sean Murphy this year. Adam Duvall is a 57 OPS plus. So they need to find some type of, their version of the Eddie Rosario, Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson trio. Maybe it's Ramon Laureano and Whit Merrifield this year. I will say Jorge Soler looked great for a little bit. Now he's hitting under the Mendoza line for the Braves. So maybe it's Jorge Soler again. Who knows? But the way I see the Braves winning the World Series is if they find some of that pixie dust that they had 3 years ago.
Yeah, and you know what? That's very fair. So I think for mine, it's going to be kind of what we were talking about pre-production meeting on this, that the Braves will win the World Series if they turn their shutouts around. They've, as Splash let me know beforehand, the Braves have been shut out 8 times over the last couple months here. And does that come from bad offense? A little bit, yeah. But at the same time, their offense, their pitching has been fantastic here overall, been one of the more consistent ones in all of baseball here. But as we're seeing with Seattle, that doesn't always get you the win. But I will say that pitching does get you deeper into playoff runs than hitting will most of the time. So legitimately, it is going to come down to that. But for at least this stretch of games to be able to get into the playoffs, hitting is going to be essential. And then when you get into the playoffs, your pitching is going to carry you. It's just about whether or not can you put together at least a couple of runs. It doesn't matter if you give up 1 run and your pitcher throws a complete game 1 run if you score 0. So that's really what it comes down to for the Braves. And we have one more team that we are going to talk about here, and that is Mac's New York Mets. Currently not at this exact moment holding a playoff spot, but half a game back. So we're going to talk about them here. So let's start with the Mets fan here, Mac. All right, tell me, the New York Metropolitans win the World Series if
they can get the final 3 outs of the game. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Maybe
you know what? That's fair. That's very fair.
Maybe I should extend that to 6 outs because their starting pitching has actually been great lately. And I like this offense, even if they're sometimes inconsistent. Francisco Lindor has a case to be MVP, as my name shows, by the way. Mark Vientos has been fantastic. Big fan. Jeff McNeil has had a great second half. Basically, everyone except for Francisco Alvarez has been productive this year in some way, shape, or form. And even Alvarez, if he doesn't make an impact with his bat, he's very good at pitch calling. The pitching staff loves pitching to him. But their ERA in the 8th inning is 4.86. That's pretty ugly. It's the highest of any inning. In the 9th inning, it's 3.75, but they've given up 15 homers in the 9th inning this year. In 110 innings, that's not a good grade at all. So, yeah. And also their ERA in extra innings is abysmal. So they need to just find a way. You know, sometimes we don't need Edwin Diaz to be Edwin Diaz, 2022 Edwin Diaz. But somewhere in between 2019 Edwin Diaz or, May 2024 Edwin Diaz and 2022 Edwin Diaz, you're golden. Phil Maton has been great. Daniel Nunez needs to be healthy. Jose Buto was great at first, but he's had a couple of rocky outings here or there. Danny Young has been great as the lefty out of the bullpen, but I'm telling you, just get those final 3 outs. This team was 11 games under 500 at one point. They are 11 games over 500 right now. They didn't do that by mistake. They're 53-31 since they called a team meeting, and Jorge Lopez threw his glove into the stands. So, yeah, find a way. That's all I got.
I'll go next on this one. And honestly, I'm going to echo your exact same sentiment here. The New York Metropolitans will win the World Series if you hear the trumpets. Like, that's really what it comes down to for me, is that Edwin Diaz, when he plays at the level that we know Edwin Diaz can play at, it becomes unthinkable. It becomes unwinnable for the other team. And I'm not saying that he has been perfect, obviously not. I mean, he was removed from the closer's role earlier this year, and they put back into it, if I remember correctly. So at this point, like, when he plays well, he doesn't make. I'm going to borrow a quote. I'm going to borrow some slang from the youth of today, saying that he has that aura. He has that plus 1,000 aura here.
That's great. Yes, you're right.
I'm in tune with the kids. Yeah, 100%.
But no, do, fellow kids.
Exactly.
I refuse to say any more out of fear that my hip will hurt more. But anyway, no, like, when he comes out to those trumpets, it is the entire stadium, the entire atmosphere changes. That is something that his aura truly brings here. And if you can hone into that, imagine Game 7 of the World Series coming in top of the 9th inning here, and you just hear like, at that point you just gotta think, oh no. I gotta tell you, I would be so hyped if that happened. I know that's a very low chance of that happening, but if it does, I'll pop off.
Yeah, the odds of the Mets hosting a Game 7.
I know.
Pretty low. Like, Mets making it to the World Series, we talked about it in the group chat, entirely reasonable. I think it's on the table, but hosting Game 7, I don't think that's exactly reasonable.
Oh, of course not. No, I just wanted to say that in case of, like, if that does, that would be like the ultimate pop for me. That meant like a 3-2 game. Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be fair. All right. The New York Mets will win the World Series if...
Yeah!
Okay, I had that set up, and then both of you morons took the same thing.
Oh, I'm so sorry there, Splash. We all had the same brain cell for an idea.
Okay,
we just kind of traded it around like it was. We just kind of traded it around like it was Octavio Dotel.
It's like we're orange cats, all of us. So my answer to not piggyback off both of you, Francisco Alvarez calls JD Martinez. That's it. That's the solution. I said it with Michael Harris. If he figures it out in the playoffs, the Braves will win the World Series. Francisco Alvarez, buddy, Mr. L Troll, you were the number one prospect in baseball because you were a catcher who had Mike Piazza power. And now you have totally flipped the script. You're great defensively. And where's the power? Where's the power? Where is the power? Talk to JD Martinez. Figure out from world-renowned hitting coach JD Martinez how to hit the baseball. And the Mets will beat the Brewers and then beat the Dodgers and then beat the Phillies and then lose in 5 to the Astros. That's the point. That's what will happen. But Francisco Alvarez, Mr. Buddy, sir, pal, I think you're the same age that I am. Peer-to-peer, call JD Martinez, go on a long walk on the beach. I don't care what it is. I'm a Braves fan saying this, by the way. I would like you to have a nice conversation with JD Martinez, the Mets hitting coach. Punch him in the face. Actually, don't do that. Just block his number. We don't want to get arrested now. Block his number. Talk to JD Martinez because JD Martinez figured it out. He has figured it out for the Mets. He's figured it out for himself. He is wonderful. By the way, the Nationals should sign him in the offseason, but that's a story for another time. Francisco Alvarez, it's all on you, buddy.
Yeah,
I trust his defense. Like, he is awesome defensively. Same. I trust how he interacts with the pitchers. I trust but you got to hit for some power, pal.
Yeah, I do want to mention it might be a trumpet's correlation to Edwin Diaz's performance because he has a 6 ERA on the road and a 2.3 ERA at home. I will say he's only because he came back from that suspension where they did the arbitrary sticky stuff rule. He's had 2 bad outings, and they just happen to be consecutive outings on the last road trip that cost the team both games. So he's actually been much better since the coming back from the suspension, but really ever since he came back from the IL.
Yeah, and that's what honestly is going to come down to. And in the playoffs, again, the lights are brighter. The lights are just brighter in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes forward from it. And if we do get to hear Narcos in the playoffs this time around.
We will be hearing Narcos, but it will be playing for sure at American Family Field for William Contreras. I will point that out.
The correct Narcos, excuse me.
I don't know. He changed his song. I feel like he didn't. I heard it when the Braves were in Milwaukee.
He did last year, but he changed it back this year.
Okay.
I mean, here's the problem. If Blaster Jackson and Timmy Trumpet say that the only person who should be using the song is Edwin Diaz, then I think the only person who should be using it is Edwin Diaz.
We will respect one of these players that was an all-star this season.
We'll respect one of these players that actually got the verified from the people that made the song.
We will respect the World Series champion in the group here.
Yeah, we'll respect the World Series champion, Edwin Diaz, after 2024.
That is unlikely to happen. We will respect 3-time World Series champion Alex Bregman. I know you won't.
Of course I won't. But anyway, regardless, let us know what you guys think. Here, let us know on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Here, what do you think will be the key for these teams to win the World Series? Any of the teams we talked about today, let us know on Twitter at LAR_baseball. Here, we will be talking more about these teams next week and what not to see. It's what they will not need to do to win the World Series. What is going to be their downfall? Maybe a little bit more of a repeat from this, but maybe have a little bit of some differing opinions. Anyway, with that being said, it is time for everyone's favorite segment. It is trivia time. And for the trivia duties, I hand it off to one Mr. Splash. Take it away.
Good evening, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have what I'm going to refer to as Minefield. So our Minefield game, it's pretty simple. There's a safe zone, there's a not safe zone, and then there's the minefield. Your goal is to get points and avoid the mines. Avoiding the mines is pretty important. So
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yes. On today's episode of You Don't Want to Be on the Mines, the question is war, baseball reference war.
Okay.
Fellas, there are 21 players who have 21 position players that have accrued 100 baseball reference WAR. You have to name them. However, if you happen to name one of the players who is above 75 but not above 100, you lose immediately. No second chances. No second chances. So you can choose one of 21 players who have 100 WAR. Then there's 31 players who are between 75 and 99.99999. If you choose one of them, you lose. If you choose a player over 100, you get a point. If you choose someone below 75, you have to go again. So you get a second chance. You're not out. So you can choose Mike Zunino. I might ban you, but you can choose Mike Zunino. You'd be wrong.
Tough talk from someone that's not the host of the show today.
Yes. So, fellas,
Okay.
Alex, you have lost like the last 10 coin tosses we've done.
Okay, now that okay. Okay, fine.
So, Alex, you got the number correct. Whatever number you were thinking of, that's the number. So,
69,
Alex,
let's go.
you may go first.
All right.
100 WAR, baseball reference WAR.
Okay, I'm gonna go with probably the easy one here and go Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth, number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Mac.
Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds is number 1.
Yeah, he was gonna be Barry.
Alex,
All
back
right.
to you, pal.
Ty Cobb.
Ty Cobb is number 4.
God.
Alex. My
Mac,
bad.
I'm not Alex.
Mac.
I will
back to
select
you.
a guy named Alex, though. Alex Rodriguez.
Alex Rodriguez is 12th. Alex.
I'm going to go with Ricky Henderson, the man who I have a card of here on my desk.
Ricky Henderson is 14th. Mac.
Okay, I think I'm going to go with Honus Wagner.
Honus Wagner is 7th. Alex.
All right, rest in peace, my man, Willie Mays.
Billy Mays is 3rd. Mac.
I think this guy reached 100. Ted Williams.
Ted Williams is 11th. Alex.
Nice.
Shares a nickname with the Mariner manager right now. That's Stan the Man Musial.
Usual is
Get to
8th.
100. Oh, wow. Okay. Whew. This is where it gets tough.
Yeah.
100 WAR. I forget if this guy actually. Oh my god, that's a risk. I think Splash is probably thinking the same guy I'm thinking of. I'm gonna take a risk here, and it might lose me this. I'm going.
How
with
many
Albert
strikes?
Pujols.
No,
How many
there's
strikes
no
do we get,
strikes.
by the way?
No
You are
strikes.
out. It is a
Oh, it's just out? Oh.
Did you
I
say
didn't
how many?
know that
I
part.
can't remember if Albert Pujols got back over 100, so I'm gonna go with him, and I know that's a risk.
Albert Pujols is 20th. He is correct.
Let's go.
Alex.
Oh, you just hit that. Because while you were saying all that, I got an ad for a video here for a YouTuber that I like. That may call this cheating, I guess, but I did not see anything to do this. I'm going to go with... oh, shoot. Is that actually who it is? Is that actually who I want to say? No. Okay, go back to the original one. Roger Swordsby.
Roger Hornsby is 9th.
Yes!
Oh,
I was about to say
Mac.
Eddie Matthews, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think he made it.
Mac.
I think this guy did. Tris Speaker.
Tris Speaker is 6th.
Ooh.
Go.
Alex.
Did I say Hannes?
I did.
Hannes has been taken.
Oh, Hannes was taken. Okay, let's go with Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle is 16th.
Yes.
Mac.
Oh, it's
man,
getting close.
This is getting tough.
We're getting in nitty gritty here, folks.
So many guys I don't know if I trust they reached 100 WAR. Man, okay. Man, I got
players that got to 90 but did not get to 100. Those would be quite unfortunate blow-ups.
Oh man. Okay. I don't know if this guy reached 100, and I may lose it right here. So I'm gonna go with Henry Aaron.
Hank Aaron, 5th.
Let's go.
That was my
Right.
next one.
Alex. You got
All right.
10, 13, 15, 17, 2 guys tied at 18 and 21.
Okay, I don't think this one was said. If it is, I'm sorry. Going to go with one Mr. Lou Gehrig.
Lou Gehrig is 13.
Oh, I couldn't remember if he got to 100 either.
All right,
I
Matt.
took a risk too, bud.
6 more.
Man.
Honestly, for me, it's just about what players played long enough to get to that number.
That's the other thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Get into the nitty gritty though. I'm running out of names here. I won't lie.
I am too. I've got like one more name, and that's about it. And even then, I'm not sure about that name.
The issue is that because it's only position players,
Yeah,
makes things a lot tougher.
just a wee bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who was like. I might, again, this is me taking a huge risk, but I know he played for a while and was really good. Cap Anson.
Alex,
God
you
damn it.
won.
Yeah!
As soon as
Cap
I said
Anson.
that,
Max stepped on the mine.
94.4, my friend. He was
Oh my
26.
gosh.
94.4.
94.4.
Oh my god. I
So-
knew that he was either right there or under it.
So you're missing Eddie Collins, Mel Ott, Frank Robinson, Nap Lajwe, Mike Schmidt, Joe Morgan.
Okay, I second guessed myself on Frank Robinson because I was about
Yeah.
to say him, but I
Frank
thought his defense held him back.
So I'm gonna tell you right now, the only thing Frank Robinson was the name that I was thinking of, and I was going to say MLB Power Pros legend Frank Robinson,
Okay.
just to piss Splash off.
So some close ones that would have been quite hilarious blow-ups. Yaz, Eddie Matthews, Cal Ripken, Roberto Clemente.
If I had said Eddie Matthews, I would have just choked it, right? Like, because that's what
Wait,
I was gonna say.
How high was Matthews?
95.9.
Oh,
I did not realize that.
He was
So-
I wasn't even considering him.
So
well,
here's
good
the thing.
because he wasn't a correct answer.
Yeah. So
He's
like when I
top
brought up
25.
the ad for the YouTube thing, I saw a thing for a Kevin GOHD video, and it made me think of Eddie Matthews.
Eddie
And I'm like,
Matthews, yes.
did he? I was about to go Eddie, but I was like, I don't think he made the 100.
So,
Anyway, regardless of such,
I do wonder, is the 100 War Club closed with Albert Pujols? Because Mike Trout
mean,
is like a potato now.
Mike,
so
yeah, if
I
Mike
don't
Trout
know. He's
stayed
only
healthy,
13.9 away, which
yeah.
is
I don't think it's closed. I think that baseball's going to keep evolving to potentially change it, though.
I
To
we can have
potentially-
a longer conversation about this another time. But I don't-
That's another.
I just think the
conversation.
spread of talent is getting like smaller and smaller as we go. Like I think it was easier to be exemplary, and now it's the standard to be exemplary. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like,
Mhm.
like to use a pitching analogy. Like I've said this before. I think Nolan Ryan, Bob Feller, Satchel Paige. I think they could throw 100. I do believe that in my heart of hearts.
Yep.
And if you drop them in the majors today, they would be in the 95th percentile, 98th percentile of throwing hard. But it's today's guys that throw 94. Every one of their brother throws 94.
Yeah.
And the water has risen there. So being Aroldis Chapman and throwing 11 miles ahead of the average is absurd now.
Mhm.
But 20 years ago, if he came around, he'd be throwing 15, 16 miles per hour ahead of the average. And I think that's like the average is rising. The high end, I don't know. I don't know, frankly, but the average I think has risen over time. So it's going
Like-
to
But,
have
yeah.
Like my controversial opinion when it comes to it is that a lot of the great hitters of the past generations would not do as well in today's
Mhm.
game, but I think a lot of the pitchers probably could. Like I think if you put prime Satchel Paige here against the New York Yankees, I think he would still do fantastic.
Okay. The wonderful guys at Rates and Barrels had a conversation. How far back do you have to go for someone like Edward Cabrera to win the Cy Young? And they're like, if you go back into the 60s, is he like a more talented pitcher than, say, Sandy Koufax? And I'm like,
That's a comparison right there. I'm not sure.
understand where you're coming from, like the pure
Mhm.
stuff. Like if you dropped like the Edward Cabreras of the world, if you dropped him into the 1960s and didn't change anything else, then yeah, he'd be awesome. But that is I don't think it was Edward Cabrera. I think it was someone even more wild, which Edward Cabrera has like 25 command. So but
Yeah,
I will
podcast.
say, while we're on the topic, shout out to Ben Joyce, 105.5 yesterday. That's
insane.
It read 106 on the broadcast radar gun. But that is the fastest strike of all time. So
that is
shout out.
so like gangster.
It
Also,
is.
big shout out to Florida for winning the Little League World Series.
True.
On a walk-off.
Walk-off bunt.
Yeah, walk-off
Yeah.
bunt. Bunting is, I mean, it's Little League.
Bunting is great. What are you
Fundamentals.
talking about?
Yeah.
Fundamentals. Anyway,
Fundies.
let's move on to our final segment, as we like to end every show here with the moment to ourselves, where we have just a moment to talk about whatever's on our mind. It does not have to be baseball related, but it absolutely can be. Splash, you've been talking that you would like to go first, so I will absolutely let you. If you would like to go, I will count you down.
Okay.
All right, your time begins in 3, 2, 1, go.
So, earlier today, there was a shooting at Appalachia High School in Georgia. And if I remember correctly, this is one of the high schools we played in Academic Bowl or History Bowl. And just an absolutely unspeakable tragedy. And just a moment of silence for the, I believe, 4 confirmed dead from heinous act by some 14-year-old. So 4 dead, as far as I'm aware from Fox News, 4 dead and 9 wounded. So just a moment of silence.
Yeah, truly, truly tragic. And again, thoughts go out for the families of everyone affected. And it's never a fun thing to cover, but unfortunately, it's one that needs to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, Mac, would you like to go next, or would you like me to go next?
You can go next.
All right, sounds good. I will start in 3, 2, 1, begin. So for me, I want to talk about something kind of cool at the very least for me, and that has been my weight loss journey, as well as my kind of feel of just trying to get healthier in general. I, for the first time since before the pandemic now, can step on a scale and it will read, it's read a number 2 at the front of it, which for some people, that's not great. For some people, that's horrible. For me, that's fantastic, because I started out the year at 335. And so now to be, at 299 abouts, like, that is, I'm very proud of myself. I've been very diligent about going to the gym, about eating better, about eating lesser amounts of food, and so being able to do what I need to do here. And you know what? Hey, it's been a very interesting mark for me at this point, but the fact that I've made it this far, I'm proud of it. Plus, I saw some friends, and they were noticing that I've made this change in myself, and were impressed, to say the least.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Alex.
That's
I
awesome.
I feel a lot of the same things. The same, like seeing a 2 on the scale. It's all about progress and
Exactly.
One day at a time.
One day at a time. All right, Mac, you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Sounds good. Your time begins in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, so I'm not one to rag on professional baseball players, obviously, for the way they play the game necessarily. I will never be a major leaguer, but the Mets played the White Sox over the weekend, and I gotta say I have no clue what that team is doing. There were just multiple moments where I was like, the Mets did not play well this weekend, but my God. There was a play where Francisco Lindor hit a routine ground ball to first base. Andrew Vaughn flipped it to, I think, Davis Martin was covering, and he just straight up dropped the ball. There was another play where Harrison Bader hit what was originally ruled an inning-ending double play. It was a fielder's choice. It got overturned, but there was a chance Nicky Lopez came off the bag on the play. It was just alarming watching them for a 3-game series. It's a problem. I think it's a bad look for baseball when a team is this bad at what they do. So, and then the whole thing yesterday against the Orioles, where three guys collided basically on a routine pop-up with the bases loaded. This is a circus. I hope this gets corrected somehow. Unfortunately, it looks like they're probably going to break the 62 Mets record, which the 62 Mets don't want that record to go down necessarily. So it's just my 2 cents. Watching the White Sox, I feel bad for their fans because this is truly embarrassing.
Yeah, no, like I've had already a ton of people come and talk to me about like this is something that you love, and I'm like, yes and no. From the fact of I love this game of baseball, I don't like watching the White Sox, but at the same time, like a car crash, you kind of can't take your eyes away from it.
It's unfortunate.
This is legitimately a modern miracle because the fact of does not mean that a miracle is a good thing in this case, but the fact that this is something that shouldn't happen at the professional level. And yet here we are that there's a legitimate shot that a major league team will lose 120 games in a season. That is absurd.
They might lose 125. Like, this is an abomination. This is like, it is shocking when they win a game. Like, it is baseball. The shtick is you are guaranteed to win 60 and lose 60, right? And the last 50 or the last 42 games in that case are what you like. That's your record, right? Every team's going to be somewhere between like 54 wins and 104 wins. These fools might lose 125.
They're 31 and 109 as of right now.
The Chicago Bulls, a known not good basketball team, will probably win more games this upcoming season.
Mm-hmm.
The Cubs, who I don't think have a top 50 player, top 100 player in the sport, are going to win double the amount of games that their friends on the South Side are going to win.
Is it weird to think about that there's a very legitimate possibility? I'm not saying this is going to happen, but a very legitimate possibility that the Chicago Bears might win more games this month than the White Sox will this month?
That is a distinct possibility.
Yeah, I hate that is a distinct possibility.
Also, we get to watch Caleb Williams play in an NFL game on Sunday, and that is one thing I'm excited for. I have not cared about football very much this season. I'm excited to see Caleb Williams, and I'm excited to see him join that group of elite quarterbacks with
or
Lamar, Burrow, Allen.
Or see him join the quarterbacks from USC.
Yeah, or that. Let me just put – I just wanted to put a bow on the White Sox thing is that they've played a lot of games where like they can be competitive, but they are awful at the little things. Like there's a reason they're so bad is they are terrible with the little things. So
now you're not getting as many innings out of Crochet. You traded Fetty.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just like Crochet was really, really good. Other than that one time he faced the Mariners. And Eric Fetty is still second in the American League in Baseball Reference War, which is preposterous because he hasn't been in the American League since July.
Exactly.
So, the Braves also lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. So I'm going to go cry in the corner.
Understandable. Don't worry. Hey, the Mariners
NFL predictions before the season starts? Any team prediction? I guess you're Alex. How many games will the Seahawks win?
18.
That's not happening. Mac, how many games will the Steelers win? There is a correct answer here.
10.
9 is the correct answer. How many games will the Ravens win? I don't know. I just hope they have fun.
I just want the T-shirt, like kind of going back to baseball for a second. There's a T-shirt that's floating around that says, "I hope Logan Gilbert is just having fun."
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, I want that. That's just great. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for our podcast today. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. You can go follow us on Twitter /X/ whatever you call it at LAR_baseball. You can go follow me on Twitter specifically at SportsGuy242. Go follow Mac on Twitter at Mathias_A_K. And you can go follow Splash at Mrs. Splashman19. Well, from all of us here at Losses Above Replacement, we want to thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe. And I hope to see you all real soon.